Welcome back to Travel Again Insights, a weekly look at what matters most to our amazing industry. Ed, another week.
Another week, Mike. It's nice to see you. And as always, there's a lot going on. We got three really important stories and a lot of context to cover. So let's just jump right in today. First story is about Virgin Atlantic and Eva Air announcing health passport tests. And this is interesting. It's great news, but also continues to be confusing in the marketplace. Tell us why, Mike.
Yeah, so this is the good news, bad news situation. So the good news is this is basically the trials that Virgin Atlantic and Eva are taking on using the IATA health pass or travel pass as the core product, which is great. So IATA has gone through the time, expense to put together a basically a health passport verification tool that will be digital and can really help and is a needed part. Now, that's the good news. Not bad news, but the challenge here is that we still don't have a set of standards that everybody's working from, because they're not the only provider in the marketplace, nor will they be. That needs to be in place so that we can have interoperability, we can have a clear set of standards. And so, it's clear about acceptance when it comes to their role in the process of verifying, dealing with the various governments and the process of moving through, in and out of or across borders. So the challenge here is, how do we get to that? Now, we've been, put out, many communications, a lot of, work around setting those standards and putting them in place. Us and other groups have, but we're not to that point yet where we've gotten clear guidance from, the major countries about what's going to be accepted and what's that process for acceptance. So until we have that, we're really, as an industry, going to have challenges here. And so it is a key part of what we're trying to get done. Again, recent letter to the White House that we all, signed on to and have been actively publicizing is to say we need a roadmap in place that includes this by May 1. It doesn't all have to be finished by then, but we need a roadmap so we can understand how to reopen travel. And again, digital health passports, this verification process of testing and vaccines is critical.
Okay, thanks, Mike. This next article is probably my favorite of the week. A new study came out that shows that testing, in particular the safe travel testing being done out of Hawaii, picks up nearly 90% of travelers with coronavirus. And this matches what we've been saying for a long time. Tell us about it.
Yeah, I mean, that's great. I mean, the good news is, again, that this is basically validating yet again our recommendations that we put out in December, and the role of testing, which is really important, and again will be ongoing well beyond the distribution of vaccines, et cetera. This is basically saying that if you do a series of testing, through the process, starting 3 days before and kind of as you go through the process, you can basically, the probability is that you will basically collect, the vast majority of the, of those who test positive. And that's where we need to really focus our efforts. So, it's a philosophy about risk mitigation. The goal is not that, and can never be, to eliminate risk. There's always been and always will be health-related risk when you travel. The key is to minimize that risk and to manage it, right? And that's what this is about, and that's what the role of testing is. The testing is not to, collect. You're not having 99.99% accuracy in terms of identifying anyone who has tested or will test positive. It's about creating an environment where you're capturing it most of the time, and the probability lends itself, combined with people being vaccinated and the herd immunity and et cetera, as that all helps basically, again, reduce and manage the risk. But this is good to see, and again, good to have when we have third-party validation yet again that we are on the right on point with where we're going and the recommendations we made to date.
Okay, thanks, Mike. It's great news here in the U.S. as vaccines continue to roll out and more people get vaccinated. But we have to remember the testing is still really critical as part of the travel infrastructure overall.
And is down the road, first line of defense. not just for this and not just for COVID-19, but like you said from the beginning, and we've been talking all through our recommendations, it's like, it's also about being ready for COVID X for the next, right? And if we have an infrastructure in place, testing should be and needs to be ongoing in terms of how it fits into, the infrastructure of the future for travel.
Okay. Next, Mike, last story of today is, I can't believe this is happening. Another traveler tells the story of getting stuck in a foreign country, this one, Mexico, after testing positive. And we have to remain vigilant and cautious. Tell us about this one.
Well, look, this is going to be, again, these stories are not going to go away because we will continue to have situations where people will test positive. And, now the good news is that, again, the testing was in place to capture this and to, so that that person was identified as being, positive, and they had infrastructure in place, and they have, a protocol for what you do in those situations. So that's all, outstanding, right? And it should be viewed that way. And I know those stories are hard, and it's certainly hard for people. The lead story there was, again, a couple on their honeymoon, and day 5 into a week-long honeymoon, the husband tests positive. And so you have to go through a quarantine process, et cetera. And what that says to me is like, look, it can still happen, and it will still happen. It's not a bad thing. I mean, in the sense of, again, procedures are followed in a way that you can isolate someone that's tested positive. And yes, it's disruptive, and it is clearly an issue, that would challenge, and feel bad for people in their personal circumstances. But again, in the scheme of things, if other people were protected, he's going to, from a health perspective, he's going to be fine and okay. He's largely asymptomatic. Obviously didn't even know he was positive, right? So that's good news too. And they'll get back safely. The key would be, and this is where insurance, travel insurance, and taking precautions fits into it, like having new procedures around making sure you accept those policies before you traveling international. Make sure you have COVID coverage so that you know what happens before your trip, to say, oh, if this happens, do I have protection in place where either the hotel that I'm staying in maybe provides free lodging, while you're quarantined. How are my expenses going to be covered? Because then it becomes more of those types of issues, which is, everybody's going to be fine from a health perspective. It's basically what do I have as safety net in case I'm going to have some unexpected, delays and expenses, et cetera. And I think, again, the insurance industry is stepping up to, have those policies in place, and have, that will be a key part, again, in the future for travel and travelers. But again, I look at these situations and maybe a little differently. When I hear about the testing infrastructure, procedures working, and doing their job, I look at that as a win. We're not going to stop the virus from being present in the world. We have to, this is all, again, about risk mitigation and, procedures, et cetera. So.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Those are our articles for the week.
Yep.
We wish everyone a safe week. And if it's your turn to get vaccinated, please do.
Yes. Say yes. Get vaccinated immediately.
Yes. All right, we'll see you next week. Thanks again from Travel Again.